views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Darren Hyman. Today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, we'll give you an update on what's been going on right here in the Bronx. Plus, we'll discuss the importance of Kendra's Law and how we can bring more awareness to mental health. Then we'll discuss President Donald Trump's decision to end the DACA program and the effects it'll have on undocumented immigrants here in the United States. Plus, we'll also talk to the Garifuna Coalition as they plan to celebrate 20 years of the organization's services. And also in our show, we'll discuss the upcoming events, including the 18th District's candidate forum for the upcoming primary election. And lastly, we're going to sit down with the Lehman College president to discuss his state of educational attainment in the Bronx, as well as some educational initiatives for students at Lehman College. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm your host, Darren Hyman, and today is Wednesday, September 6th. And of course, you're watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. Now, we want to encourage you to stay connected to us, and how you can do that? Well, you can find out more about us on Twitter at BronxNet TV and Open BronxNet Television. Well, a lot has certainly been going on over the past week, but right now, we'll catch you up with some Bronx updates. President Trump's decision to end the federal immigration program DACA is causing major reaction here in New York City. Protesters gathered at both Foley Square and Trump Tower protesting the move. DACA is a federal program introduced under the Obama administration designed to protect immigrants who came to the country illegally. Among the protest supporters, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio and other elected officials who were also on hand, standing in solidarity with residents and immigrants, criticizing the president and his administration for what they call a cruel and senseless decision. The mayor went on to state, quote, "The city will use every legal avenue to defend New Yorkers affected by the decision." The mayor even urged dreamers who need legal advice to call 311 and promised that the NYPD would not act as a deportation force. The fate of many dreamers are now left in the hands of Congress. Well, nearly 9,000 students with disabilities in New York City have been lacking services such as speech therapy, physical therapy, and counseling. This, according to the City Department of Education. Although state law requires schools to provide support for the disabled, many schools don't have the facility nor the staff to deliver the services. Now, underserved districts such as the South Bronx and Brooklyn are among several areas that the deprived services needed for the disabled. In July, advocates filed a lawsuit against the city, failing to provide hundreds of disabled students in the South Bronx. A spokesperson for the Department of Education has said the city has hired over 700 clinicians in the past 3 years to provide students with therapy, and they said, quote, "We are dedicated to meeting the needs of students with disabilities." Well, as summer is slowly coming to an end, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. has been thinking about the following summer by suggesting discounted season parking passes for beachgoers at Orchard Beach. Now, the president suggested that $60 season passes. Instead, Bronxites can now pay $8 for a regular fee for regular beachgoers. According to the Department of Parks and Recreation, the $8 fee is supposed to fund more than $3 million in improvements for the 45-acre lot, including 5 new ticket booths, upgrading landscapes, and much more. The Parks Department seems open to the borough president's ideas. They plan on discussing the idea of the parking passes with the parking lot operator. Well, Governor Andrew Cuomo, Senators Chuck Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand, and Congressman Jose Serrano have announced nearly a $2.5 million federal funding for the New York State Green Market Regional Food Hub. The funding was allocated through the Economic Development Administration, allowing Grow NYC to construct and construction for the South Bronx Food Hub. Now, the new food hub is going to include wholesale farmers market, USDA compliant cold storage facilities, and a food processing center, as well as some other infrastructures to support local food businesses. It'll also move 20 pounds of local produce in a year and is said to create 95 permanent jobs and 150 construction jobs. Well, the Oology came to the Bronx Bethany Nazarene to showcase contemporary Christian artists. Our reporter, Tatiana Parrish, brings us the story.
Theology brings out a new talent that gospel has never heard before, using their creativity to showcase Christ through trap music, rap music, and R&B. They also cover older gospel songs, but adding their own twist. Bronx Bethany Church of the Nazarene hosted live performances on their rooftop to help bring out the youth on a Saturday night.
So we're starting by having our young adult Bible study where we share the word, and then we show how we can use our gifts and our talents to worship God. And so this is a creative way of showing that how you can use your creative gifts in order to do that.
The Oology really for me has allowed me to have a space as a Christian to be free, use my gifts.
Theology EXT is an extension of Theology, in which is hosted the first Sunday of every month. Acoustic guitar player and organizer of Theology believes it's important to give Christian artists a platform.
From the very traditional to the non-traditional, so everything in between, everything that goes on, black, white, yellow, green, the whole spectrum.
Shocking the entire audience, Christian Castaneda proposed to his girlfriend, and she said yes.
I had no idea this was going on. I know obviously we've been talking about, we want to spend the rest of our lives together. We've been best friends for so long, but I had no idea he had a ring. I had no idea this was happening.
One day we were in a break room and I mentioned my church. Turns out we went to the same church this whole time. We didn't know. God brought us together. We just developed a strong friendship. Over the years, it just grew. She was dating someone at the time, but she had broken up with him, and God just brought us together in the perfect timing. And I wanted to do this, and I want God to be involved. And I want his people to look at us as an example, not a perfect example, just two people willing to submit to God's will and to fulfill, in this day and age, a marriage, a healthy marriage. God-given marriage, and I just want to give him all the glory and praise. Theology
performs at the Mott Haven Bar and Grill every first Saturday of their concert series. For more information, check out their website below. For BronxNet, Tatiana Parrish.
Don't give up on God, 'cause he won't give up on you.
And thank you. We're taking a quick break. Stay tuned. We got more open coming up right after this.
We are neighbors and best friends. I love my sisters.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Well, over the years, we've witnessed the realities and the results due to mental illness. This year, we lost NYPD officer Miosotis Familia, who was fatally shot and killed by a mentally ill person. Many, including our guests today, have pushed for an extension of Kendra's Law, a law set in place to give the judge authority over those who meet certain requirements to undergo psychiatric treatment. Now, here to shed light on this issue, we welcome now Assemblyman Victor Pichardo and licensed clinical social worker Lyrica Fizame. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Our pleasure.
Good. So, Assemblyman Pichardo, first of all, give us the update as to where Kendra's Law is today, right now.
Sure. So basically right now, the Senate passed a permanent extension of the law. I believe it was sponsored by Senator Young, Republican senator from upstate New York. The companion bill, I believe, that we passed in our House was just simply a 5-year extension. So that's kind of where we are in the legislature. So we agree that we need to extend it. The disagreement within our House is that we need to have it have a sunset clause, so we have to review it and revisit every 5 years. And the Senate believes that we should just permanently extend it. But we do agree that we do need to extend this law and renew this law.
Lyrica, the importance of having this law on the books and the importance of having this law enacted.
Yeah, I think this law is extremely important. I think it's also tricky to just have it be done right. And so I think the sunset clause is really important.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about mental illness being prevalent, and we see many cases where it's actually involved, for those people who don't know exactly what Kendra's Law would do, would you give us an overview?
Yeah, so if somebody is considered a threat to themselves or to others, it would help to be able to have assisted outpatient treatment for that person. I think the tricky thing is if they break the plan or they go MIA, then there's criteria that I think was just enacted to be able to make sure that those people still stay safe and get the treatment that they need.
Sure.
And unfortunately, when it comes to mental illness, it does not get the attention it deserves until cases like we talked about with Officer Familia occur, and then we see more of a, an awareness, more of a push. Talk to us a little bit about shedding light on mental health and the fact of how important it is for us to really address these issues.
Well, first and foremost, I believe that any person who puts a priority on anything is usually where the money is allocated to. In the state legislature, we in the Assembly have pushed to make sure that mental health is on the top of our priority, and that is fully funded and to a degree where folks like the young lady to my left is able to do the work that she needs to do, as well as the Office of Mental Health. But unfortunately, within the song and dance of the legislative budget and the negotiations, some of that money is wrapped into pet projects for other legislators, unfortunately. And we need to stop that practice, but more importantly, we need to make sure that mental health programs are fully funded to the degree that what they need to, so that tragedies that happen to Detective Familia, but besides that, tragedies are happening every day. There are folks who need help and can't get help, not because of the force of law, but rather that there's not enough funding to make sure that these folks get the services that they need and they deserve.
No, with all due respect to the Assemblyman who's sitting here, a lot of people in state government, city government do politicize this, and it becomes caught up in the political balance. You spend a lot more time with boots on the ground dealing with people who have mental illness. What are the things that we're actually missing when it comes to understanding some of the plight and some of the challenges of dealing with mental illness in our community?
Well, I think there's two things. I think for serious mental illness, the issues go beyond just treatment. So it might be food or housing or other factors that affect their livelihood and being able to survive in the community. And then I think the other part of this is that, and this affects any community, the stigma of mental health. People are not interested in getting treatment. Some people are, but when there is a real problem, oftentimes people are not interested in that course, and they don't want to be forced to take medication or all of those things. So.
And there's a big stigma in communities of color.
Yeah, absolutely, and also in white communities. So I think it's an affliction that affects any community. People don't really want to be seen as a person who's getting treatment. Yeah.
Well, and I absolutely agree 1,000%. There is the stigma associated to mental health and mental health issues that not only our communities, but it doesn't matter, race, creed, sexual orientation, religion, that is, people are affected by. And we need to make sure that folks who need help get help. but more importantly, we need to support those who are given the help, that are giving help to folks who need it, have the resources that they need to make sure that that work is done.
How optimistic are we that this can move through both the Senate real quick?
Well, I think in the Senate, there's obviously an interest in it. I disagree on sort of the tactics that the upper chamber is taking, but I agree in a sense with its goal. And I know that in the Assembly, what we try to do is balance fairness, equity, access, and just a more of a holistic approach when it comes to mental health issues than our counterparts at least in the Republican majority in the Senate. And I know that when we reconvene in Albany in January, this is probably going to be one of the top priorities besides, funding for the MTA and other priority issues for the legislature, to make sure that we continue to discuss this and we approach this in a way that it creates maximizes the good and make sure that folks who need the resources to have access to the resources they need, get those resources.
Mental illness, of course, comes in many different forms. Can you educate our viewers a little bit about, some of the different forms of mental illness that are commonly dealt with?
So there's serious disorders, which would be something like a personality disorder, and those are harder to treat. And then there are times in our lives where we experience different symptoms of disorders. So you could be depressed at some point in your life, and that could reoccur, or that could be something that you experience throughout your life. And so I think mental illness is really hard, and the fact that we go to the dentist and we go to the doctor for our healthy bodies, we also need to go for our minds. Yeah.
I heard someone once say that, we care for our bodies a lot. We spend a lot of time caring for our bodies, but also caring for our mind is equally as important as caring for any other part of our body, because it's one of the most vital things next to our heart.
Agreed.
Yeah. So as we look forward now, Kendra's Law is making its way towards the Senate. We'll, of course, keep you updated on that. Now, is there anything the public can do in terms of helping to support this process where it is right now?
I think in any instance, if it's Kendra's Law or anything else, funding for the MTA or any issue that the government needs to take center focus on, is to lobby the legislator, lobby their local state senator, lobby their local state assembly member, and in the city of New York, lobby your member of the city council. We need to make sure that this is an issue and a priority for the folks that we serve, and we need our constituents, and if you live in Orleans or in Binghamton or in Buffalo or in Armaya or anywhere in the state, just to lobby your legislator and make sure that we continue the pressure to make sure that we pass this law, but we pass it in a way that it helps the most folks who need it, and that we can review it on a regular basis to make sure that what we're doing is doing the right thing.
Lyrica, I'm going to give you the final word for those people who may be watching right now, maybe have a family member or even themselves maybe dealing with mental illness or struggling with mental illness. What advice do you give?
I think the most important thing is just get help, and if you don't like the service that you're getting help from, to get help from another service. There's plenty of places to get help, and so trying different things to find out what works.
Lyrica Diane Fils-Aimé and Assemblyman Victor Pichardo have been our guests here talking about Kendra's Law. Of course, we want to get you connected. You saw the information at the bottom of the screen, how you can get connected, find out more information. Sure. Thank you both for coming and sharing, and of course, as this goes forward, we want to bring you back.
Happy to be back.
All right, Assemblyman Pichardo.
Sounds
Lyrica,
good.
thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
Taking a quick break. We'll be back. More shows. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Hi, I'm David Lesh, legal correspondent to the Morning Show Open. If you have a legal question that you'd like me to answer, please send me an email at davidlesh@bronxnet.org, and I will address it on our Ask Your Lawyer segment.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Well, recapping our show's top headline, more than 800,000 young undocumented immigrants will now be unprotected as the Trump administration announced the end of the DACA program. Joining us now to discuss this issue, we welcome our political commentator, as well as the owner of Retrovision Media, Lee Bynes, and good to have you, man. So when we talk about this here, obviously, I want to talk about a couple of things. Number one is no surprise here, because we know that the president running on his campaign said, listen, pretty much, if I get in office, DACA's ended. So for a lot of people, this doesn't come as a surprise, but some people are still shocked. Why?
Well, yeah, shocked, stunned. I think primarily the way it was rolled out was more of a problem than anything else, simply because of the fact that, A, two words could kind of describe this: cruel and callous, heartless, despite what the president said. The fact, and cowardly, also because of the fact that he did not make the announcement himself. He sent Jeff Sessions out to do the dirty work, take all of the heat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think a lot of people, especially the 800,000 folks who were conned into believing that the United States was going to actually offer them a lifeline. I think a lot of them are stunned because they had bought in to the fact that they had an opportunity, that they wouldn't be penalized for things that they had literally no control over.
And let me go back to this Attorney General Jeff Sessions, because you did say that he was the one who actually did the rollout, and he did announce that it was being rescinded. Let me give you his statement, as he said, and then you'll take it and then give me your thoughts on this one here.
Sure.
It says, now the Department of Justice, quote, this comes from Attorney General Jeff Sessions, the Department of Justice cannot defend this overreach. There's nothing compassionate about the failure to enforce immigration laws. Enforcing the law saves lives, protects communities and taxpayers, and prevents human suffering. Failure to enforce the laws in the past has put our nation at risk of crime, violence, and even terrorism. The compassionate thing is to end the lawlessness and enforce our laws.
See, the only difficulty with that, well, let's break this down in two spaces. For number one, the law was going to be challenged constitutionally because 10 states were already in the process of filing a lawsuit against the government to challenge this executive order that President Obama laid out in order to give these people some cover until Congress eventually will come up with a comprehensive immigration plan. When that never happened, now this, President Obama signed this back in 2012. Congress had 5.5 years to do something about it. The reason why President Obama signed that executive order in the first place is because Congress had been dilly-dallying for the last 15, 16 years with the same issue. So then we came to a situation where they had no cover whatsoever. They gave Barack Obama the intent of what he wanted to do was to do the humanitarian thing and expect Congress to follow suit. it never happened. So it kind of left these folks in the worst possible circumstances. Now, when I get to the second part of this story is the fact that thinking that displacing or deporting these 800,000 folks is going to reduce crime, bring back jobs to Americans who supposedly they were taking, is an outright, it's disingenuous. I won't say it's a lie, simply because of the fact that these are some of the best and brightest of the undocumented workers. These are the most incentivized people to do the right thing, make sure that they didn't get in trouble, they stayed in school, they didn't found employment. These people started jobs, bought homes. This is the cream of the crop. This is the cream of the crop. And to displace them heartlessly like this really does do more damage to the country than otherwise.
Going to Hurricane Harvey, and we talked about what happened in Houston, Texas, a lot of people who could have left, evacuated. Some people have reported being undocumented immigrants or simply fear of deportation, not coming out of their houses, not accepting help because of the fear of deportation. Given the fact that we've got another hurricane now on its making its way, Irma, and then we've got Harvey, and then all the other things we've got going on, what can we expect coming out of Washington, D.C., or the push out of Washington, D.C.? Are we going to see more mass deportations as a result of this?
It's very possible. The president is trying to say that the Homeland Security and the Justice Department will maintain the same current standing, that they only go after the bad guys. But there's been a lot of reports that's been coming out over the last 6-7 months since President Trump has been in office, that some documented people, undocumented people that are covered under DACA have been picked up, detained, and held illegally, and a few have actually been deported out of the country. Now, at this point, I'm sure there's a lot of DACA families that are sitting around the table right now trying to figure out what their next move should be. Should they move en masse on their own and leave the country and make their way up to Canada and hope for a better reception? Or do they just wait and hope that Congress is going to come up and do something in the next 6 months, which they haven't been able to do for 30 years? Because here's the real background. What Barack Obama did with his executive order to give these kids protection was something that, believe it or not, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, both Bush have done. The only difference is that Barack Obama was bold enough to put it in writing. They've been literally ignoring a comprehensive immigration reform for the last 35 years. So it took this incident to bring all of that out into the open, and perhaps, maybe, just perhaps, Congress will do something in the next 6 months. But if you look at Congress's record overall on anything, if you take a look at, I find it highly doubtful. Another thing is that Donald Trump seems to be hell-bent on erasing everything Barack Obama's done, and I mean from health care, the Paris Agreement, this DACA issue, whatever he's tried to do to make the nation better, safer, stronger. Donald Trump is taking a sledgehammer to all of those things.
We've even heard the president come out, or I should say the president, the Treasury Secretary coming out and saying when it comes to Harriet Tubman being on the $20 bill that this will no longer happen, or it's not a matter of great priority, given the fact that there's security issues and other things to be dealt with. Your thoughts?
My thoughts is it's hard to believe that, especially when you bring up the Harriet Tubman going on a $20 bill and you marry that to the rhetoric that the president has had to say about a lot of Latinos in this country, you marry that to his pardoning of Joe Arpaio, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and it's difficult to see that this is not a race-based issue. There was another thing that I had a takeaway from yesterday, as a matter of fact, when Huckabee Sanders, the White House spokesperson, was answering questions regarding this DACA event. She made it very clear, not once, not twice, but 3 times in her presentation, that African Americans would stand a chance to benefit by the deportations of these people simply because they were taking jobs that African Americans should have had. In my estimation, what I saw that was was a means to divide and conquer, to set one ethnic group or one minority group against another minority group. And it was so transparent. I had to, I cringed when I heard that going on, and I thought to myself, when I get on this show and I have an opportunity to express that, I wanted to let the Latinos know that we are not in competition. We are all people of color, and we will all either stand together or fall together, because that's where it seems where the nation is going. And I was really proud that Barack Obama gave a really a powerful statement in response to this action, letting this current president know that that's what he's doing is not what America is all about.
Yeah, and it's not, the president has not, former President Obama has not really commented a lot on what is going on with the Trump administration, saying he wanted to, quote, stay out of politics, but this, of course, weighing heavy on him.
Well, it's destroying his legacy. It's just one more thing that's destroying his legacy, sort of like the destruction of Obamacare. It was almost as though that the Republicans, when they pitch that argument, they do it in the most vicious terms, as though that Obamacare was put into process to hurt people as opposed to help people. The way they've been going after every executive order, every law, everything that he's done, is always placed in the context that Barack Obama was trying to do harm to the country as opposed to bring it together and make lives better for everybody. So I have yet to see in the first 8 months of this presidency anything that this administration has done in a positive way to get something done for people, but it's been a whole lot of tearing down of what's been done prior to his coming into office.
Got to jump to the international front with a couple of minutes left. I want to talk about North Korea also threatening to blow up the U.S. mainland. Your thoughts, your take?
Well, that's one thing I would have to speak against that type of bellicose language on either side, but you have to keep in mind that the North Koreans have already made the determination that the fact that they are a nuclear nation, that's going to stay on the table no matter. That's non-negotiable. The Russians and the Chinese have come up with a plan to take the bad language off the table. It's called a freeze on freeze. They want the North Koreans to freeze their missile testing and their nuclear ambitions if they can convince the West, specifically the United States, to curtail their war games in the area, which the North Koreans has seen as a threat for decades. And I think that's a reasonable plan. However, the United States is nixing it out of hand simply because of the fact that they're saying that those war games are legal. They've been sanctioned by the UN Security Council. However, North Korea is working outside of international law. The problem with it is that since the North Koreans have already established the fact that they are a nuclear nation, they have the weapons, they have the delivery system, and they're making the threats. If there's a way to slow things down, then all diplomatic activities should be utilized. That is not happening because the Trump administration has already said that talking is not an issue anymore. The North Koreans, as far as he's concerned, only understands one thing. What that one thing is, we don't know, but one can reasonably assume that a preemptive strike might be in the cards. And that is extremely dangerous because Vladimir Putin has said on numerous occasions, especially this week. In fact, Putin is setting himself up to be the peacemaker in that affair in that region, simply because he's having a meeting right now with, as we speak, in, what is the name of this place? Oh, Vladivostok. Right now, they're having a meeting. He's brought the President Abe from Japan. He's brought in Moon Jae-in from South Korea, and a delegate from North Korea is all meeting right now to see if they can figure out a way to slow this military talk down a bit in the region. Now, if he can reach some sort of a deal with the three of those partners, those regional partners, because Russia has a border with North Korea, China has a border with North Korea. They do not want this thing to escalate. So if they can figure out a way between themselves to resolve this issue without the United States being involved, that could be a big feather in his cap. He already sidelined the United States in Syria. He's already working behind the scenes in Afghanistan. He could take over this thing and make Russia look like no longer a regional player, as Barack Obama called them, but bring Russia back to being a major player in the world in terms of changing the trajectory of things.
We're going to leave it there. Lee Bonds, that's what we're bringing here. Thanks a lot, brother.
Good to be here.
All right, Lee Bonds, our political commentator. Stay tuned. We got more Open coming up. We'll be with you in just a few seconds.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed.
I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close. I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it.
I just want my family to be safe.
But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
Well, the Garifuna community here in the Bronx is celebrating 20 years of hard work and dedication. Here now to tell us more about their organization as well as their upcoming candidate forum for District 18. We've got the Garifuna Coalition Chair, Jose Francisco Avila, and also talking from the NAACP's perspective, who's partnering the NAACP Parkchester branch, Ms. Beverly Roberts. And thank you both for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was reading, Jose, I was saying here, like 20 years, I take my glasses off of this one, 20 years you guys have been around and celebrating it. But before we do that, let me just ask a quick question. We talked about DACA. Obviously, as a member of the Garifuna community and right here in the borough of the Bronx, what do you think?
Well, actually, it's very interesting. Yes, during this 20 years, it's actually the founding of the Garifuna Coalition, and we were actually participants in the DAC. When the whole DACA was approved, we participated in actually reaching out to the immigrant community to register with DACA. So as far as what is, of course, a lot of the Garifunas are going to be affected because we are immigrant, and it's sad because these are young people who came. Yes, they are undocumented, but it was not their intention. Their parents brought them here, but unfortunately, that's the situation that we're in.
Yeah. We'll get back to that later on. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. But listen, the issue of hand is politics, of course.
Exactly.
And both of you are sitting here because we're talking politically. And you guys are actually hosting a candidate forum for District 18, and a district that is an incumbent, and yet no incumbent, I should say.
Exactly.
And you got 5 candidates actually running. And we've had them all here, as a matter of fact. Talk to us about, Beverly, the fact of what you guys are looking for and what do you want to look at here out of District 18?
Well, from District 18, we want to hear from these candidates how they intend to improve the quality of life for their constituents. We're also looking to introduce these candidates to the community so that the community can engage them in questions and answers so that our community can be educated voters. All too often our community, they go out to vote, but they really don't know who's running. And it is the responsibility of organizations like the NAACP and the Garifuna Coalition to really bring these candidates before the community and allow the community to know who they are and know what their platform is for the coming election.
Yeah, and a lot of communities try to put this on, and sometimes the candidates say, no, you're actually able to get all of them up under one roof, which says a lot about you both. When you talk about the needs in that particular community, what do you find the biggest need to be that you want to hear about?
And actually, I'm going to address bringing them together. It's important to say that this is an initiative of the New York City Campaign Finance Board through their NYC votes. They are actually the ones who are putting together. And we had to apply, and we were one of the organizations, and we decided to seek out an organization with over 100 years dealing with this issue and the NAACP, and that's what we're doing it together. As far as issues, they basically remain the same. Housing, gentrification is a big issue right now. We see the elderly, the youth, and different homelessness. Those are some of the major issues. And they continue, they are all over the Bronx, not just in the 18th district, but those are some other ones.
So if people want to attend now, there's an RSVP that's required?
Yes, it's online through Eventbrite, or the contact information is there also for the NAACP and for the Garifuna Coalition. But Eventbrite online is the easiest way to register.
And Beverly Roberts is the president of the NAACP, particularly the Parkchester branch, and you guys are a part of this. Talk to us about the NAACP and its role, its involvement in Parkchester's life.
Well, the NAACP in Parkchester, we are 42 years old this year. And the NAACP, we have always remained true to our core values, and that is civil rights and social justice for all people. As we look out and we see the landscape changing the way it is, the work of the NAACP will continue. We are 108 years old as an organization this year. We are 2,200 branches across the United States, and our role, we are now the elder statesmen in civil rights, and we must make certain that going forward, that we engage our young people so that they are prepared to carry the mantle to the next century.
Voter apathy is always a big problem. People not showing up, particularly in non-presidential elections. Are you hopeful that a forum such as this is going to be able to really get people motivated to come on out and vote? Because we do know that when it comes to, city council races sometimes, you in certain areas, you get real low voter turnout.
Oh, well, 2013, it was 8% of the population, the voters participated. That is the intent, Darren, of these forums, is, as Beverly mentioned, for the candidates to meet the community and the community to meet the candidates, and more importantly, have an opportunity to ask them questions. How do they plan to address the issues that affect this 18th district and so forth? And the Garifuna Coalition, and along with the NAACP, of course, representing communities of color, we've always, our intent in increasing that participation and the fact that you don't come out to vote just every 4 years. Municipals are very important. They're the ones that make the decisions that impact us on a daily basis. Assembling the state legislature is very important. So that's basically what we want to change, is that pattern of just coming out to vote every 4 years, but every election is important.
Yeah, every election is important. So in addition to this particular community forum, we want to let people know, if you don't know, it's Thursday, and it's going to take place Thursday at 6:30, PS 106 on the Parkchester School. That's 1514 Olmsted Avenue, right here in the borough of the Bronx. You can come on out and be a part of that candidates forum for the 18th Councilmatic District, a district that has 5 candidates, some of which you saw here, particularly on In the District. We did a show here,
exactly,
and we met them, and they really spoke to a lot of different things. But as I listened to them, what I did get is that each and every one of the candidates has some things that they have in common, but then they also go off on different tracks. Are you confident that whoever gets elected is really going to be able to bring home all the issues that you guys are facing in District 18?
Well, we have to hold their feet to the fire, and that's something that we don't do enough of. And the more you educate the voter and bring new voters into the process where they're trained and they understand how the system works, you will have voters that will be able to set very high expectations for these candidates and really insist that what they campaigned on, they bring back to the community, and if they don't, then we're not voting for them anymore.
And it's pretty plain and simple there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, I saw the show when you spoke to all 5 of them. It was great. It was individual. They're going to be sitting on a table facing the voters. So this is communicating directly with the voters, and this is the first time that the voters on 18 have had that opportunity. So we're looking forward to make a change.
Yeah, it's always an important time when you get your candidates at the table to really be able to see and hear exactly what's going on. So in addition to this, I know you guys have activities outside of that, so I want to give you a quick minute to just share a little bit about what else you got going on outside of this.
Well, the 20th anniversary, which is actually next year, so we're already planning on that. And of course, there's always, well, with DACA now, it's one of those issues that really affects our community, so we're going to get involved with that.
You're going to see a lot of political action there.
Absolutely.
Coming up on September 23rd, we are sponsoring our 10th anniversary health fair. That will be at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. We're also doing a career day with the police department. We have a number of events that will be advertised.
Well, certainly we want to thank you guys for coming and sharing. The event that they're talking about right now is the candidate forum for the 18th Councilmatic District. Is going to be all 5 candidates. They'll be at PS 106 Parkchester Schools Auditorium. If you want to find out where that is, well, it's 1514 Olmsted Avenue, and all you do is take the 6 train to Castle Hill. If you're not, take the 22 over to Unionport Road, and you can get right there. And so hopefully you'll get a good turnout, not just at the forum, but also at the polls as well.
Absolutely.
Jose Beverly, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank
Good
you for
having
having us.
All righty, listen, we're taking a quick break. When we return, we're going to sit down with Lehman College President Jose Luis Cruz and find out his educational initiatives for Lehman College.
party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
And welcome back to Open. Well, recently we had the opportunity to talk to Lehman College's president, Jose Luis Cruz, and he talks about his educational initiatives. We sat down a couple of days ago, and this is the conversation that we had. Joining us now is Lehman College president, Jose Luis Cruz, who is here to talk about the state of educational attainment in the nation and what exactly it means to the borough of the Bronx. Along with his education initiatives for Lehman College, we're pleased to have President Cruz with us right now. And so when we talk about, obviously, the Bronx and a lot of educational opportunity that's available, and one of the things that I know you want to see happen is more degrees happening right here in our borough.
That's right, that's right. Increasing educational attainment in the country is one of the most pressing issues for the United States. And by that I mean the number of citizens that have at least an associate's degree or above, and in some cases we even count certificates after high school. And the reason it's such a pressing issue is because educational attainment correlates with how well a nation prepares its human capital for economic competitiveness, and it also correlates at the individual level with health, employment opportunities, earnings, civic engagement. And so it's really important for the country to pay attention to the percentage of its workforce that has some form of post-high school education. And what we're seeing right now in the United States and what have been seeing for the last several years is concerning.
So congratulations to you, because your inauguration is taking place soon, and you've been here. And as you look at the landscape here, obviously there's a lot of work that can be done, a lot of work to do. What do you see as your main priorities in hitting the ground here?
You're totally correct. There's so much that can be done to take Lehman College in the Bronx to a bigger and better place that it's hard to sort of organize and prioritize. And so that's why the State of the College address a few months back, I challenged the campus community with what we call the 90 by 30 initiative. We want 90,000 high quality degrees or credentials by the year 2030. And that's an organizing principle, really. At the end of the day, if we accomplish that, what it will do is position Lehman College as the top contributor to educational attainment in the Bronx. And that's important because it goes back to what I was mentioning a few minutes ago, the concerning state of educational attainment in the U.S., because the Bronx right now is 61 out of 62 counties in the state of New York from an educational attainment perspective. Only 28% of our Bronxites in the workforce have at least an associate's degree. And that is 40 points lower than New York City or Manhattan, New York County, which is at 68%. So if we want to be a part of this Bronx renaissance and make sure that Bronxites have the opportunities to prosper in the new economy, then Lehman College has a responsibility to do more. And that's why the 90 by 30 initiative is going to be helping us identify what do we have to do at the academic program level, what do we have to do in student success programs, what do we have to do with our community engagement, how do we better support our faculty to drive the work so that we can not only transform the lives of our students, but also contribute more broadly to that educational attainment goal that we have.
Is there something we can do to make things more educationally attractive?
We can. One of the things we have to be better at is educating our high school students or middle school students about the importance of aspiring to a higher education. We have to make it possible for them to see themselves as being part of this educational environment. So it goes beyond affordability. We already know that the City University of New York is one of the more affordable universities in the country, and that we have financial aid available for our students to be able to access those degrees and opportunities for them. But if they don't have the aspiration from the beginning, if they don't have the preparation, it makes it difficult. So one of the things that we will be doing at Lehman College is looking more closely at how we engage with the K-12 system. How do we engage with our community colleges? How do we engage with the adult population that has some college but no degree and needs a certificate to advance in their career? Reach out to them, make it easy, a seamless transfer process so that they can come to Lehman and we can do what we are recognized nationally for doing, which is we're number 4 in the country for our ability to propel low-income students from the bottom 40% of the income distribution to the top 40%. because we do that, because we are nationally recognized for that, we need to do more of it. And that's why we are going to be reaching out more intentional about that work, and then once we get them, make sure that they succeed.
And having to be more intentional, I guess, because as we look now at society, it's almost imperative nowadays that you have a degree. Post-secondary education is almost a necessity.
That's exactly right. There's a lot of conversation sometimes about folks asking whether or not a college degree is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
They look at the stories that come out in the press about very high loan debt and no jobs, and question the value of a higher education degree. But those individual stories that get all the attention in the press do not reflect the reality that you are more likely to have a job, you're more likely to make a living wage, you're more likely to be healthy, and you're more likely to be civically engaged if you do have a degree. So from an individual perspective, it's imperative that our students aspire to, and that we give them the opportunity to succeed in higher ed.
So you talked about 90/30, and that's a major initiative. How do you see this rolling out?
So we will have our inaugural and convocation speech event coming up in September 27th. We are working to socialize some ideas on campus and off campus to sort of develop a roadmap. 2030 seems like a long time away, but the reality is if we're going to double the number of degrees, the launch angle is important. So we have to get some momentum initially over the next 2 years to be able to hit that mark in 2030. So lots of conversations on campus and off campus, collective work, a lot of collegial discussion. We will have a roadmap and we will start implementing.
So since being here, have you determined what is like the biggest need that you have right now?
The biggest need that I have right now, I think, is more hours in the day. There's just so much to do, and a lot of challenging work, but very rewarding work. And so to the extent that we can maintain the energy level and engage others to do the hard but important work that lies ahead, I think we'll be successful.
Does it make life a little bit easier being in the borough of the Bronx, which has this great diverse community?
I love it. It has been, it's not only the value of diversity, but also it's the inclusive nature with which we go about our business. And this is a very calm, collected, inclusive campus that values our students. We have over 13,000 students. They come from 90 different, speak 90 different languages. 40% of our students have more than one passport. And it's just a joy to be part of this community and learn every day from them.
Well, President Zuma, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. As always, you know, you have an open forum to come here to open and share with us a little bit about what's going on.
Thank you so much. I look forward to it.
Thank you very much. All righty. And a special thanks to President Cruz for stopping by our studios talking about those Lehman initiatives. Well, we've come to the end of our show today. I want to thank our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67. If you don't have that, Verizon Fios, Channel 33, or anytime on the web at www.bronxnet.org. I'm Darren Jaime saying thank you for watching. Until next time we meet, stay safe. Keep this channel wide open. Take care, and God bless.